Well, hello and welcome to another Faith, Philosophy and Life with me, Mr. Shelton. It's great that you're with me and I hope that you are doing well. Today we are going to start with drawing a little picture of ourselves. Okay, this is a little picture I found of me. I quite like it. But I'd like you now to do a little self-portrait. So, let's do that while you grab your pen and paper and a pencil and let's listen to our cheesy intro music. Pause me, as usual, and then come back to me. And let's see those lovely pictures that you've done of yourselves. Okay, great. Well, welcome back. Please, as you always, send your pictures through and your work through to your teachers. We'd love to see them and love to be reminded of who you are if you're at home watching this. The thing is, with a picture like that, it's very much a self-portrait. It's how you perceive yourself to be, and depending on your artistic skills, obviously that's going to have an impact on how it looks. So today what we're going to be thinking about is what it means to be made in the image of God. Okay, so that's our title today. What does it mean to be made in God's image? So we're going to understand the teachings of Imago Dei. And this is a really important Catholic teaching that comes through with your spec quite a lot. So it's going to be good if you can retell what it means to be made in God's image. It's going to be great if you can explain what Catherine of Siena understood by Imago Dei. It's going to be even better if you can apply today's knowledge and learning into an exam style question. During today's session then, we've got a little self-portrait you've just done. We're going to look at the difference between humans and animals. There's a little media clip with a worksheet. Again, all that you need description-wise is below. We're going to look at St. Catherine of Siena and then a review as well. This is a really important painting. I wonder if you've ever seen it previously. I want you to pause this now and have a look at this painting because we're going to come back to this later in the course. But this is a painting that's all to do with Adam. That's what it's called, and it's found in the Sistine Chapel. And here you can see a picture of God, or a God-type figure pointing at his creation, pointing at Adam. So this is a really important painting, and it shows about God's image of his creation. Okay, so now having thought about that and maybe seen some of the things that we learn about Adam and God through that image and having maybe done a little bit of research on that, I'd like you now to do a little table in your books to say why is it that humans are the same or different than animals. So on one side you have the same, one side you have different. So again, pause me now where you get that drawn up. Why is it that humans or animals are the same or are they different? Okay, so you might have said things like humans are the same as animals because they have the ability to think or they have the ability to feel. But you might also say that you disagree with it because humans are far more important than animals. They've got far more worth. They have a quality of life that animals do not. You might also say that humans have a quest for knowledge, whereas again with animals they only know what they need to know. They're not actually worried about the greater things going on around the world and the universe. And you might also start thinking that animals have the ability to they react, whereas humans have the ability to think and plan. Obviously any of those are things that are questionable. You can argue that from any point. However, you need to realise that humans and animals in the Bible are distinctively different, and that's because humans are made in God's image, whereas animals are created beings for humankind's pleasure and enjoyment. So what we're going to do now is I've got a media clip that I'm going to show you. This comes from Got Questions Ministries on YouTube, and there's a link in the description below for you to access, which has got a worksheet for it to answer. So I'm going to play this to you. I'd like you to answer the questions on the sheet, and this will give you some of the main learning for this lesson. So I'm going to hand over now, and then you'll come back to me.
What does it mean that humanity is made in the image of God? We're going to answer that question. On the last day of creation, God said, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness." Thus, he finished his work with a personal touch. God formed Adam from the dust and gave him life by sharing his own breath. Because of this, humanity is unique among all of God's creations, having both a material body and an immaterial soul, spirit. Having the image or likeness of God means simply that we were made to resemble God. Adam did not resemble God in the sense of God's having flesh and blood. Scripture says that God is spirit and therefore exists without a body. However, Adam's body did mirror the life of God insofar as it was created in perfect health and was not subject to death. Imago Dei, Latin for the image of God, refers to the immaterial part of humanity. It sets human beings apart from the animal world, fits them for dominion God intended for them to have over the earth, and enables them to commune with their Maker. It is a likeness, mentally, morally, and socially. Let's break it down a little further. Mentally, humanity was created to reason and make choices. This is a reflection of God's intellect and freedom. Anytime someone invents a machine, writes a book, paints a landscape, enjoys a symphony, calculates a sum, or names a pet, he or she is proclaiming the fact that we are made in God's image. Morally, humanity was created in righteousness and perfect innocence, a reflection of God's holiness. Our conscience, or moral compass, is a vestige of that original state. Whenever someone writes a law, recoils from evil, praises good behavior, or feels guilty, they are confirming the fact that we are made in God's own image. Socially, humanity was created for fellowship. This reflects God's triune nature and his love. In the Garden of Eden, humanity's primary relationship was with God. In fact, God made the first woman because it is not good for man to be alone. Every time someone marries, makes a friend, hugs a child, or attends church, they are demonstrating the fact that we are made in the likeness of God. Part of being made in God's image is that we have the capacity to make free choices. Although they were given a righteous nature, Adam and Eve made an evil choice to rebel against their Creator. In doing so, they marred the image of God within themselves and passed that damaged likeness on to all their descendants. Today, we still bear the image of God, but we also bear the scars of sin. Mentally, morally, socially, and physically, we show the effects of sin. The good news is that when God redeems an individual, he begins to restore the original image of God, creating a new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. That redemption is only available by God's grace through faith in Jesus Christ as our Savior from the sin that separates us from God. Through Christ, we are made new creations in the likeness of God. That answers the question, what does it mean that humanity is made in the image of God? Research this question further on our website, gotquestions.org. Be sure to click subscribe and check out these other questions.
Okay, great. So we said this lesson it would be good if we could retell what it means to be made in God's image, and hopefully now you've got some idea about that. And great if you could explain what St. Catherine of Siena understood by Imago Dei, and that's what we're going to look at now. So behind me then is a quote from St. Catherine of Siena, and this was written in a piece of work she did called Discretion. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to read this over and answer those two questions that are on my right there, or on your left. So what do you notice about how St. Catherine describes a human soul? And what does she say about why the human soul is not perfect like God? So pause me now and get that done, then come back to me. Brilliant. So the next thing that I'd like you to do is there's a sheet as well in that description that you've accessed which has got this table of information on it. I'd like you to match those things up to these 5 areas. So which one of those phrases is about origins? Which one of those is about conscience? Which one of those is about light to love by? Which one is about dignity and sanctity of life? And which one of those is about destiny and sanctity of life as well? So give that a go. That will take you about 5 minutes or so, and then come back to me. Brilliant. So what I'd like you to do just before we go on to our exam question is to draw out this triangle in your book and split it the way that I've got here. So which is it that's about the image of God in Latin? Then I'd like you to come up with 2 modern thinkers about Imago Dei from the work we've done today. And then list 3 out of the 5 key teachings from St. Catherine of Siena on Imago Dei. Get that done, and then in fact, let me just help you with that. Here's some more information for you that will help you with that. So have a quick read over that, pause me, have a read over it, then we'll go back to that triangle. Okay, so now you should be able to get on and do that task. Okay, so this is our final task then. I'm going to leave it at this, so I'd like you to get this paused and then carry on and get this job done. It's really not a complicated one. It's a B question, it's worth 5 marks, therefore you need 4 bits of information and a quote which is explained. Remember, a quote can be a biblical quote or a source of authority, so for example St. Catherine of Siena. And this is the question, it's describe the religious belief in humanity as created in Imago Dei. Describe the religious belief in humanity as created in Imago Dei. So have a look at that and then give it a go. 5 minutes. Please send everything through to your teacher today. We would love to see what you have done. All the best, take care, stay safe, wash hands, God bless you, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.